The air was thick with mist, a dense, almost tangible presence that seemed to wrap around everything it touched. It was as if the very atmosphere was alive, breathing in sync with the forest itself. The mist was not just a visual barrier, but an emotional one, creating a sense of isolation and mystery. It was a world where the line between reality and illusion blurred, where every step could lead to a new discovery or a hidden danger. It clung to the giant's ankles as he walked, each step a struggle against the weight of the fog. The mist seemed to have a mind of its own, swirling and shifting as if trying to hold him back. It was a silent adversary, relentless and unyielding. The giant's footsteps were muffled, the sound absorbed by the thick air, making his journey feel even more solitary. He was a lighthouse in a sea of grey, a beacon in the darkening world. His presence was a stark contrast to the gloom that surrounded him. A solitary figure of light in an otherwise shadowy landscape. The giant's inner strength and determination shone through, illuminating his path and giving him the courage to move forward. He was a symbol of hope in a place where hope seemed to have long vanished. His name was Finn, and he was alone. The weight of his solitude pressed down on him, a constant reminder of his isolation. Finn's heart ached with a longing for companionship, for a friendly face in this desolate place. But he knew he had to keep moving, to find a way out of this land of shadows. His journey was not just a physical one, but an emotional and spiritual quest as well. Finn had stumbled upon this place by accident, a twist of fate that had led him into this eerie forest. He had been wandering, lost in thought, when he suddenly found himself enveloped by the mist. It was as if the forest had reached out and pulled him in, trapping him in its mysterious embrace. Finn couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to be here, that this journey was part of a larger destiny. One moment he was in his world, ordinary and bright, filled with the familiar sights and sounds of his daily life. The sun had been shining, the birds singing, and everything had seemed perfectly normal. Finn had felt a sense of contentment, a peace that came from the routine and predictability of his world. But that peace was shattered in an instant. The next, he was here, in this strange and foreboding place. The transition had been sudden and jarring, like stepping through a doorway into another dimension. One moment he was surrounded by light and warmth, and the next he was plunged into darkness and cold. It was a disorienting experience, leaving Finn feeling unmoored and vulnerable. The sky was a bruised purple, the trees twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. It was a landscape that seemed to have been painted by a troubled artist, full of dark beauty and hidden menace. The colors were muted, the shapes distorted, creating a sense of unease that permeated everything. Finn couldn't help but feel that the forest was watching him, waiting to see what he would do next. He didn't know how he got here or why. The questions swirled in his mind, adding to his confusion and fear. Had he been brought here for a reason? Was there some purpose to his presence in this land of shadows? Finn searched for answers, but the forest remained silent, offering no clues. He felt like a pawn in a game he didn't understand, a player in a story whose ending was yet to be written. But he knew one thing: this place felt wrong. There was an underlying sense of malevolence, a darkness that seemed to seep into his very soul. It was a feeling that gnawed at him, making him question his every move. Finn's instincts screamed at him to leave, to find a way back to his world, but the path was unclear, and the forest seemed determined to keep him within its grasp. He continued his journey, fear a knot in his stomach. Every step was taken with caution, every sound analyzed for potential threats. The forest was a maze of shadows and whispers, each turn revealing new challenges. Finn's heart raced, his mind filled with 1,000 worries. But he pressed on, driven by a determination to find answers, to uncover the truth behind his strange predicament. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the sound of his own breathing. Where was he? The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something to happen. The stillness was oppressive, adding to the weight of Finn's anxiety. He felt like he was walking through a dream, a surreal landscape where nothing was as it seemed. The silence was a constant reminder of his isolation, a void that echoed his own fears and doubts. And what was out there? Hidden in the mist. The unknown loomed large, a constant presence that kept Finn on edge. He knew that danger could be lurking just beyond his sight, waiting to strike. The mist was both a shield and a threat, concealing whatever lay ahead. Finn's imagination ran wild, conjuring images of creatures and traps, of challenges he would have to face. But he also knew that he couldn't let fear paralyze him. He had to keep moving to find a way out of this land of shadows. A twig snapped under his foot, the sound amplified in the stillness. He froze, his heart pounding. Something rustled in the bushes ahead. Two eyes, glowing an eerie green, materialized in the dark. A low growl vibrated through the air, sending shivers down Finn's spine. A creature emerged from the shadows. It was unlike anything Finn had ever seen. It was small, hunched over, with leathery skin and razor-sharp claws. Its eyes burned with malevolent hunger. Finn took a step back, his hand instinctively reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. He was completely out of his depth. This world was a nightmare and he was living in it. The creature hissed, baring its teeth. They were needle-sharp, glistening with an unnatural venom. More rustling came from the bushes surrounding Finn. Dozens of glowing eyes appeared, each pair belonging to a creature as grotesque as the first. They circled him, whispering in a language he couldn't understand. The whispers sent chills down his spine. Fear propelled Finn backward, his eyes darting from one creature to another. Their eyes seemed to bore into him, reading his fear, relishing it. He was surrounded, trapped. The creatures continued to whisper, their voices growing louder, more insistent. They were urging each other forward, their eyes fixed on Finn. He was the prey and they were the hunters. Suddenly a voice boomed from the shadows, silencing the creatures. The forest, which had been alive with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant howls, fell into an eerie silence. Every creature, no matter how small or large, froze in place, their glowing eyes wide with fear and anticipation. It was deep, guttural, and dripping with power. The voice seemed to reverberate through the very trees, causing the leaves to shiver and the ground to tremble. It was a voice that commanded respect, a voice that demanded obedience. The creatures parted, creating a path for the speaker. They moved with a synchronized grace, as if they had rehearsed this moment countless times. The path they formed was straight and narrow, leading directly to the heart of the forest. A figure emerged, larger and more menacing than the others. Its presence was overwhelming, casting a long shadow that seemed to swallow the light. The other creatures bowed their heads in reverence, acknowledging the authority of the newcomer. It was humanoid in shape, but its skin was covered in scales and two horns protruded from its head. This was their leader. Its eyes glowed with an intense, otherworldly light, and its movements were deliberate and powerful. Every step it took seemed to resonate with the very essence of the forest. The leader approached Finn, stopping just inches away. Finn could feel the ground shake with each step the creature took, and he could hear the faint rustling of its scales as it moved. The air around them grew thick with tension, and Finn's breath caught in his throat. Finn could feel the heat radiating from its body, smell the stench of decay on its breath. The creature's presence was suffocating, and Finn's senses were overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of it. He could feel the creature's breath on his face, hot and foul, and it took all his willpower not to recoil. His heart hammered in his chest. Each beat was a thunderous drum, echoing in his ears and drowning out all other sounds. Fear gripped him, cold and unrelenting, and he could feel his hands trembling at his sides. The leader stared at Finn, its glowing eyes searing into him. Those eyes seemed to pierce through his very soul, laying bare all his fears and doubts. Finn felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the creature could see every thought and feeling he had ever had. Then it spoke, its voice a raspy whisper that seemed to echo in Finn's very bones. The words were unintelligible, but their meaning was clear. A warning, a threat, a promise of what was to come. Finn knew in that moment that his life would never be the same. The prophecy, the leader hissed, its breath hot on Finn's face. The air around them seemed to thicken, making it hard for Finn to breathe. He could feel the weight of the leader's words pressing down on him, each syllable dripping with malice and foreboding. It spoke of your kind. The words echoed in Finn's mind, a chilling reminder of the tales he'd heard as a child, stories of creatures lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike, a giant lost in our world. Finn had always felt out of place, but now he understood why. He was the giant in the prophecy, the one who didn't belong. Fear threatened to consume Finn. His heart raced, pounding in his chest like a drum. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs felt like they were made of lead. The creatures around them hissed and growled, their eyes never leaving him. They moved closer, their movements synchronized, like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. He was trapped in a nightmare, surrounded by creatures that seemed to have stepped out of his darkest fears. Their forms twisted and contorted, shadows dancing in the dim light. "The prophecy," the leader continued, its voice booming once more, "speaks of our dominion over this world and all others." The leader's voice was like thunder reverberating through the cavernous space. It speaks of a new age, an age of darkness, an era where light would be but a distant memory and shadows would reign supreme. Finn felt a chill run down his spine. The temperature seemed to drop, the cold seeping into his bones. He shivered, not just from the cold, but from the realization of what was to come. These creatures weren't just content to stay in their own world, they had ambitions, dreams of conquest that spanned dimensions. They planned to take over everything, spread their darkness like a disease. The world as Finn knew it would be consumed, every corner tainted by their malevolent presence. The future looked bleak, a never-ending night with no dawn in sight. "And you," the leader said, its gaze piercing Finn's soul, "you are the key." Finn's mind reeled. He, the key. To what? To their twisted plans. He had to escape, had to warn someone, anyone, about the impending doom, but how could he? He was outnumbered, outmatched, and utterly alone in this terrifying new world. The creatures sensed his desperation. They pressed closer, their eyes burning brighter, their whispers turning into excited murmurs. The leader's laughter echoed through the clearing, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Finn's spine. He was trapped, a pawn in their twisted game. "Join us," the leader boomed, its voice echoing across the desolate landscape. "Embrace the darkness. Help us usher in a new age." Finn recoiled, his heart pounding in his chest. He would never side with these creatures, these monsters. He had to find a way to stop them, to protect his world from their darkness, but how? He was just one man, and they were legion. He glanced around at the eager faces of the creatures, their eyes gleaming with malice. There was a flicker of defiance in Finn's eyes, a spark of hope in his chest. He might be afraid, but he wouldn't give in without a fight. Finn took a deep breath, gathering his courage. He looked the leader in the eye, his voice surprisingly steady as he spoke. "I will never join you," he declared. The creatures gasped, their whispers turning into angry hisses. The leader's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in their depths. "You have made a grave mistake," it growled. Finn knew it was true. He was facing impossible odds, but he had made his choice. He wouldn't be a part of their darkness. He would find a way to defeat them, to protect his world from their evil. He had to. The fate of everything he knew and loved depended on it. "So be it!" the leader roared, its voice shaking the very ground beneath them. "If you will not join us, then you will die with the rest of your kind." The creatures surged forward, a wave of claws and teeth. Finn knew this was it. This was the moment he had to fight for his life, for the fate of his world. The ground trembled as the creatures closed in, their eyes burning with a terrifying hunger. The stench of decay filled the air, choking him. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and prepared to meet his fate. The fate of everything hung in the balance. The darkness was coming.